What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Deep Roots Homestead. It was time to make laundry detergent around my house, so I figured I would share this with you guys. Stick around, I'll show you how. Today we're making our own laundry detergent using these simple ingredients. First thing you need, a 5-gallon bucket. Next thing you need, a cup and a half of borax. After that, a cup and a half of super washing soda. Next, you'll need a bar and a half of Ivory soap or another just original plain bar soap. You'll grate a bar and a half of this to form the gel. The essential oils here is optional. I usually don't use it, but today I'm going to try one different flavor. And then we just use a ordinary cheese grate to grate the bars of soap. Now I'll show you how we did that. We took our soap, just grated it a little bit, not as hard as it looks. And then once it was done, you end up with a big mass of that can easily melt in simmering water. We'll go to the pot next. And as you see here, we're by our stock pot. We have 3 cups of simmering water. I basically brought it to a boil and then cut it down to medium high. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our grated bar and a half of soap. We're going to add it to the stock pot. And the stock pot you use, you basically want to dedicate it to soap making because it's going to get residue on the outside and be hard to clean off. So once that's in there, get you a wire whisk or some kind of spoon that you also want to dedicate to making soap. And you want to start to stir this, and it'll actually melt down to where it gets clear. While this is on the stove doing that, what I like to do is get my 5-gallon bucket, go to the bathtub, get scalding hot water, and fill it halfway up with scalding hot water. We'll cut back to the bucket and I'll show you what that looks like with the scalding hot water. And something else I need to mention is as it's cooking, you don't want to stir it real aggressively to where it creates a bunch of bubbles. You want to stir it but not agitate it too much to where you're melting the soap but not creating bubbles. And also, you don't really want to walk away from it. It can boil over on you pretty easy. So keep your heat on medium to medium high at the most. Just let it slowly melt. It's okay if it sits there for 5 or 10 minutes. Just slowly melt. Give it a slow stir every now and again. But as you can see, mine's starting to get a little bubbly. But it's about 50% melted. So we got our 5-gallon bucket here with our scalding hot water from the bathtub. And what we're going to do now is take a cup and a half of borax, cup and a half of super soda. You also can kind of substitute for each other. If you only have one, you can do 3 cups of just borax or 3 cups of just super soda. But anyway, I got a cup and a half of each. Dump it in there. And again, this is just scalding hot water from the bathtub. We'll do that so it dissolves these granules. So we'll stir that for a bit. Use a long spoon. Once that dissolves just for a minute or so, you can go ahead and add your fragrance. And again, you use about 20 milliliters. So I'm going to throw that in here now. Stir that fragrance in so it gets totally blended in really well. So now what I'll do, while this water is still hot, everything's still melting in there, I'm going to come back to my stove where my soap has now melted. It's gotten a little bubbly on top, so you may not be able to see it real well, but the soap is all the way melted. Now we'll pour, and we'll do a better shot. We'll pour that melted soap. I'll scrape the sides a little bit, just to get some of that stuff out of there. Making a mess. Now it's important that you stir that melted wax, because as we speak it's starting to harden up. You can't really tell it right now, but you will in a day, or at least a couple hours. So now what I like to do, after stirring this for, I would say stir it for a solid 2 minutes. Then you go back to the bathtub with it, or you can bring a jug, and now you put cold water in. And you just want to fill the bucket up all the way, an inch to a half inch from the rim. Which this size bucket would be probably over 5 gallons, probably 5.5 gallons. So fill it up, and you want to stir this every couple hours if you can. I'm not expecting you to babysit it, but try to stir this as much as you can over the first 3 or 4 days. What'll happen, it'll try to separate on you a little bit, but it'll actually gel up. And one of the biggest tips I can give you is get like one of those paint mixers. It's an attachment for a drill, or one of those mortar mixers. It's an attachment for a drill. It just spins, and use that to do your blending instead of a spoon. A lot easier on your back, but it'll actually make it really well blended. Probably enough where you could sell it, and you couldn't even tell a difference between this and store-bought stuff. Alright. Alright, so now we're going to just top this bucket off, like I said, with cold water. Now this bucket's full. And again, you want to stir this as much as you can over the first couple of days, 3 or 4 days, and it'll become the same consistency gel like the store-bought stuff you will buy. Kind of have a clear color to it. I'm not sure if the camera's getting, but right now it's pretty liquidy. But after an hour or so, you'll start to see a difference. But keep stirring it as much as you can, because it'll get kind of a separate, it'll separate on you a little bit, where the top's a little bit more jelly. But if you guys are new to the channel and you enjoyed this, consider subscribing. Hit that like button if you like this video. And again, thanks for watching.